Hello, lovely people. It is 4 o'clock on Thursday. I want to say it's the 9th, 11/9/23. Hope everyone's having a lovely day. Today we're going to be working on, let me see, can I point the right way? That thing. Ooh, that thing over there. That is a creature for the next book, Prayer's Handbook. A link at the bottom there. Big news yesterday was that the last orders of the Death Dealing books shipped out. That included pre-orders who came in through BackerKit before I had to kind of shut the BackerKit thing down. BackerKit was doing weird stuff with the shipping costs, so I had to tweak that. So, those were included in there. There's still like 20 orders that were not shipped, so I say everything shipped, but what hasn't shipped were anything that people haven't responded yet with their BackerKit surveys. So the Kickstarter happens when the Kickstarter's done. Later on, I use BackerKit to collect all the information. BackerKit just does a much better job of letting me sort backers into like folks who have added decks of cards, things like that, so I can plan for shipping supplies and packing supplies and stuff like that. It makes things so much easier. Kickstarters is fine, and if I were good with spreadsheets, I probably would be fine with just using Kickstarter, but BackerKit's pretty great. Telemont, nice to see you. It'd be nicer if I did have people scheduling meetings. Oh, I'm sorry. Where in the world are you, Telemont? Well, like you can say which coast, or you can be more specific if you want. But I don't know if it's 4:30 my time. Okay, that's what I thought. Let me make sure this pops back up. But today we're going to work on this sculpt some more. The figure needs a lot more bells and whistles and armor and things like that. So the first thing I'm going to sculpt is a hand to hold things. But I also want to show folks a piece of artwork. About an hour from Philly. That's great. Are you going to go to PAX Unplugged? Let me hide the iPad for a moment here and switch over to Procreate to show a piece that I just shared over on the Discord. This is an illustration for, which we started here on the stream. I sculpted it in Nomad Sculpt, and then brought it into Procreate and been painting on top of it. Pretty happy with it. I added the fire, sort of a last-minute effect, but I do like it. I wasn't sure if I was going to do that. I'm really kind of trying to sell the idea that it's a drawing that's becoming real. You're not going, hell no. That's fair, Telemont. That's absolutely fair. Yeah, I get that. I kind of like exhibiting at conventions because I can be behind a table and it helps soothe my my phobias. But I absolutely get that, especially for the bigger conventions like PAX and Gen Con and San Diego. It's a little too much for me. But I added those little bits of flame there. I think that's nice. I think it's hard to read. It's going to be challenging. It's often challenging to layer all these things properly in the InDesign file because in this current layout you see here, that fire is a screened effect. Cave, how are you? That fire is a screened effect. So it's on a layer set to screen to lighten the things beneath it. And when I bring this into InDesign, I have to basically bring those flames as a separate layer and as a separate document, as a separate file, and bring the book in as a separate file. Sometimes I'm bringing the shadow in as a separate file because the shadow is then set to multiply. We don't want the shadow to lighten darker areas of the page. We want to make sure the shadow adds, darkens whatever it's on top of. So the shadows have to be set to multiply. Streamlabs is sending a little notification. Hopefully that's not going to overly spam everything. I don't know what happened at Final Fantasy 14 Fan Fest. That's a lot of Fs. At Final Fantasy 14 Fan Fest. Flames always make things better on your car, on your boat, on your cats. I've been thinking about the cats lately. My cat yesterday. I've got two cats. They're siblings. They've been separated for a little while. F5 for short. And they were separated for a while, and they ever since one had some surgery, the other one's basically treated it like an alien. Like, I don't know what came back from the vet, and the other one has treated it like it's no longer like it's something else wearing his brother's suit, wearing his brother's a suit, and maybe he's right. But the two of them play, and when they play, one is playing tag and the other one is playing murder ball. One is going to go and tag, and the other one is going to shiv. And so one is just murderous when it comes to the brother. And so we've done everything we can to kind of try to calm down, like this pheromone little what are they called? Diffusers? Just meant to put cat pheromones in the air. So I've been scratching a lot lately. So it's supposed to calm the cat down. No effect whatsoever. Put a collar on it. Was supposed to have the same effect. The cat just chewed the collar off, like in rage. Like, so there's nothing. It's like the Hulk. There's nothing we could do to calm it down. That's him meowing right now. And so I might have to take a moment here to calm him down. I think the one on the call was estimated 65% plus got COVID. Holy heck. And the European one that was a few weeks ago was even worse. Oof. All the YouTube for the coverage of the event got delayed because literally all the content creators got COVID and most couldn't talk. Holy cow, I had no idea. Yipes. But yesterday I was carrying the soft and cuddly cat, the one with mittens, and the other cat, Wolverine, decided that it would climb me to get at him. And tried to parkour up my leg, and basically just immediately did Prowler, like from Spider-Man, just kind of digging claws in to try to get up to the cat. And so I'm like, what the hell? So I'm saying I shouldn't have a cat. I shouldn't have cats. I do my best. I'm too sweet and nice. I can't punish these guys. I can't. Everything I do rewards their behavior because I'm just gonna be like so sweet. So you need a jean jumpsuit. That's exactly a speed suit from Venture Brothers made of Kevlar. I need a Kevlar speed suit. All right, so this piece I'm pretty happy with. I'm gonna get my cameras right now. I'm pretty happy with that. That's gonna be on the page where I think we discuss the magic item that the clerics in the Prayer's Handbook get, which is called, they get a Prayer's Handbook. And there's some Easter egg type stuff in here. It might be visible in the book. You might have to break out a jeweler's loop. There's a few things. D&D over OGL. Is D&D over OGL? How do you want to do this? And how do you is circled. Who? How does who want to do this? Is it who I want to do this? Is it the Titans who control me, who breathe life into me? But of course there's a meta within it where it's a picture of the book from the angle you're looking at it, drawn in the book, and then another one. So you go down the rabbit hole. So I'm very happy with it. Most of it is just like scratched in nonsense, but there are just a few little touches. Levels? Question mark? Points? That's one of the sort of metaphysical concepts, epiphanies, they're called in the subclass. Each time a meta-domain cleric levels up, they get some epiphanies, which kind of just ways of flavoring how you level up and how you understand the world a bit more, or how crazier you are, how much crazier you are, how much of a crackpot people think you are. One of the thoughts is that the universe is made of points. There are points of light. We're made of points. If we run out of points, we die. Everything is that. So that becomes the irreducible element of the universe is points, and so that's part of the weirdness of this whole thing. Which I'm a fan of the weirdness. Okay, I appreciate it. Well, I appreciate it, Telmont. Thanks. I think it's a fun piece. I think this is nice. The again following the what we did with Intoximancy, just lots of fun stuff. The idea is everyone's prayers handbook's a little bit different. I'm assuming that they're gonna have many of them will be illustrated with these little chits of paper sticking out of them, like little notes, that you've frantically noted as you've had an epiphany of one kind or another, um, and as revelation comes to you, as you learn things, as you learn what you think you learn. The big issue with getting into it a little bit, maybe too much here, but the idea with D&D is that for the most part, faith isn't a thing. There are the gods, but the gods have legitimate impact on the world in most settings. I'm not telling every dungeon master how they play their table or what the metaphysics are of every table, but by and large, you've got clerics, you've got warlocks, you've got various sources of these gods running around, and it's not so much the leap of faith isn't required, since every cleric can sacred flame, and you can see actual manifestations of their, at least what they believe to be their gods. And so that's the perspective of the metadomain cleric. If the gods are real, anyway, the metadomain cleric's a whole thing, so it's going to have a whole book. But the idea is, in D&D, it's almost the case of where my god could beat up your god. It's more like that than people don't believe in Sheno or some other abstract, or the Changebringer. People believe in them because there's literal manifestation. Again, every level 5 cleric in D&D can walk on water and raise the dead. So what is faith in that? And how do you... And so maybe faith is something else, something unprovable, something... And that's where this comes in. So it might be a more... Even though it might be... one of the early notes was like a cleric class for skeptics. It might be a more faith-based subclass than other clerics. Even if it's more hinged upon reality. It's just within the viewpoint of Deadpool, of Abed Nadir, of Neo, of the character who's inside the Matrix, and how they look at it. Is that faith? Is that, what is all that? Anyway, it's goofy. It should be fun. And also, it's got to be cool. It's got to have cool abilities, and the character class should be a pretty good healer, because if the character is... because the rest of the group will be much more tolerant of their shenanigans if they're really good at healing. That's basically what it comes down to. It doesn't matter how annoying the priest is, the cleric is. If they're really good at healing, you'll put up with a lot of shenanigans if they're keeping you alive. So I'm absolutely leaning on that. I don't think this kind of concept would have worked if it were a ranger, per se. They'd be like, we don't need this guy. Not doing that much damage, and pretty annoying. But if they're the one keeping you alive, I think you'll tolerate a lot more. Oh, I gotta shut this email down. I don't want this beeping for the entire time here. So I'm really happy with this so far. The concept I think is unique, and hopefully not table breaking. Again, I'm really concerned about that all the time. Of like, I want to make sure it's cool, but I don't want it to mess up anybody's world. As far as everyone else is concerned, this person's just a crackpot. There's a bunch of titans sitting around a table rolling dice. We're just pieces of paper. You're crazy. Oh my goodness, I left my drawing glove. I'll be right back. Talk amongst yourselves. I'll be right back. And I'm back. Okay, what did I miss? I would actually have something like that as a large 3D print as just something to have on my shelf. With all the writing on it and all that stuff. Okay, I think people will be able to look and see some of it. Maybe, I don't know. I have no idea how it will how it'll look in the final printed piece. But this is one of the creatures from the Prayer's Handbook. This is called the Grognard. And so we basically sketched this thing a week ago. We went from a blank sheet of paper to that sketch. And we sculpted this figure down here to kind of get the gesture, a sense of the action. I feel like it could be better. I think it should be. It could be better than that. I currently have the from the front view. I kind of have the torso fairly straight on. I think we can twist it some more. Where are we? Okay. I think I'm going to separate the pelvis so these are this and everything connected to it will be a separate piece. So the chest up here, look at it from the front. We'll grab the gizmo tool, we'll turn on the axe has to be associated with that hand. Up the other hand. Okay, that's the one we want. So I'm going to grab the axe and connect it to that hand. So this way, for instance, as that forearm moves, the axe will move with it because it's connected, right? So now I'm going to grab the chest there and rotate the figure some more. So now it's running forward and hopefully going to feel more like trouble. And the head and neck need to rotate. Actually, yeah, the neck. Oh, I don't have a camera view yet. Interesting. So now when we view it from the side, there's much more turn to the figure. I'm going to rotate this forearm a bit so when it's carrying the books, it'll line up with the shoulder and not the face. I don't know if any of that makes any sense. Yeah, there's a lot more twist to the figure. It's a lot more fun. I feel like that shin there needs to rotate down a little bit for more stability. That's a big deal in cartooning and in animation, of the twist of the figure to make sure that they really feel like they're moving. Because just you want to have that. You want to have you want to bring pieces around because otherwise they're not so flat. And all these are, when the models are made, I'm not sure if there will be a model of this made, but at least the STL. 3D prints tend to be a lot more forgiving than anything that gets molded or put inside a mold, because when it's put inside a mold, it tends to have to be flat because the mold has to come apart. Otherwise, like in the case when these get cast, each arm is a separate piece. It's just the only way when you have such a complicated, weird figure to make that work. I like the idea that it could be just each arm and maybe the cape, because it's going to have a fur cape. And I didn't care about the back of the skull here because it's going to affix to the body. So the back, the behind the scenes of the skull, of the face doesn't matter as much. How we doing? But I have been shopping for 3D printers. I'm thinking about a filament one, not a resin one. Just because I have some ideas for things, and I think a filament printer will do just fine. All right, let's sculpt that hand. I know Cave was like, why don't you just sculpt one hand and you never have to sculpt another hand ever? And that's very reasonable. I should listen to him someday. I want to say I did. I want to say I did sculpt a hand. Did I? That's the cleric's hand. The thing is, every time I sculpt every subsequent hand that I sculpt ends up being a little bit better. The downside of being so new to sculpting. Yeah, I'm a pack rat. All right, let's just sculpt a hand. This is how you sculpt a hand, I think. Maybe. Who knows? We will start with the sphere. We will increase the post subdivision and validate it. It's currently in the center of the universe, probably in the middle of our monster here. So I'm just going to bring it up. And we'll scale it up. How are we doing? But I shipped what I hope is the last of the death dealing packages. Not what I hope. I mean, if everyone who is, I'm sorry, try that again. Everyone who has filled out their backer kit survey has had their loot shipped to them. There's still some folks who haven't answered their surveys, so not much I can do about that just yet. But so I'm going to build one finger at a time, and then we'll just clone that for each of the other fingers. One of these days I could create a lathed object that might be a bit more shaped like a bone, which might be better for these kind of finger shapes. This whole process took me like the whole episode, the whole stream, like a whole 4-hour stream back in the day. Now I can pretty much sculpt this in 10 minutes. At least get the basics down. So I connect each one to the previous one. And so when I move the center, they all move the way they should. And we will take this and we will clone it. I'm real tempted to make this a 3-fingered character like my comics. But then this regular D&D players are like, why is this character missing a finger? But I saw that trailer for the new Ghostbusters movie. I had no idea there was going to be more of them. I don't know why I'm surprised that the studios are milking every property to death. But I think it's the Golden Goose story, which is, of course, the story of people who had a really good quarter. And I'm not sure how it ends, but they had a few good quarters, and increased value for shareholders, allowed for a few stock buybacks. I presume the story ended well for everyone involved. Oops, turning symmetry off. But I got a ton of ideas for projects in 2024. Mostly, most important to me is a return to more time on the Middle Age. This year was taken up with a lot of projects, like a lot of educational projects, and those they might come up again next year, but I don't think they're going to be quite so frantic, because usually an educational comics project is pretty straightforward. There's a story they want to tell, we write the story, we draw the story, we deliver the story. In this case, it was involving an entire platform that needed to be invented and built in a way that other people could understand it. And so we spent a lot of time helping build the system. I think with the hope that we're going to get more work out of it. If it goes well. And so I believe it so far so good, the initial response, but a lot of that stuff, a lot of that initial figuring out, like how big a page needs to be, that's usually the first thing you're able to determine in a comics project. You're like, okay, who is this for? Is this going to be online? Is this going to be a PDF? Is this going to be, I don't know. I'm doing a comic project right now, which is a interpretive graphic, which is what they call the signs that are at when you go to a park or a zoo. And you sit in front of, you see a sign there that explains what you're seeing. It's called an interpretive sign, or interpretive graphic. It's kind of an infographic, or a data visualization, kind of an illustration of you're looking inside the puma cage, here's a picture of a puma, interesting information about its habitat, maybe its height and weight, and what it eats. But all that's kind of sign, and I'm making one for a park here in Florida. And it's a really fun project. But the first question is, okay, how big is the sign? And a lot of this stuff is it's automatically known before they even bring you on. They know what they're making. But with this educational comics project, it really was, we don't know. This hasn't been done before this way. And, that's just kind of stuff I eat up. I love the idea of getting a chance to help crack these codes and make interesting things happen. I probably should have take a little more time if we're cloning that 3 ways, but. I think I'm going to scale these horizontally a bit. We're going to thicken the fingers up, which will be good if when those bits of when the fingers touch each other and create kind of a mitten of sorts, like when it's printed in plastic. It's super helpful, I imagine, for everybody, that they don't have to worry about the space between the fingers and how that's going to print. I did watch the new. It's not. It doesn't feel new. It is the new channel on Amazon, the Dungeons and Dragons channel, which so far is just showing on a loop the old animated series. But will be showing, I think, 3 new programs. Like, one is kind of a light comedic live play, actual play show that's going to have some real celebrities on there, like your Patton Oswalts, folks like that. I think Brian Posehn. I think Deborah Ann Wall might be a regular on it. But the idea is that that's kind of the lighthearted one. Then there's going to be a more traditional, hard to say, something that goes back 5 or 6 years, but more like a classic actual play show where I think it's meant to be dramatic. And I don't know much about that one. Just that it is going to be more, I guess, more like a Critical Role. And the other show is a cooking show. The people from it was really weird because not too many people knew how does this happen? How is there? First of all, it's over on the Freevee section of Amazon Prime. So Freevee is technically, you'll see it referred to as FAST, which means free ad-supported television. So they're calling all the old stuff we used to watch. The old broadcast networks are kind of free ad-supported television. They're not on demand. Freevee isn't a app or a channel that you download things and you watch whatever you want. You basically, it's appointment television. They're going to be at 9 p.m. a couple of times a week, like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. But so far, I guess it starts on the 13th of this month. But so far, it's just the old animated Dungeons and Dragons cartoon. And there were a lot of episodes I never saw, so I just had that on yesterday. It's interesting. I don't see a lot of ads. A lot of the streaming services I use don't have ads. When I watch on YouTube, I pay for the YouTube Premium. Must be nice. I pay for the YouTube Premium just because I can't stomach the ads. I'm tired of every time if I'm watching something, as soon as I step away from my TV or leave the remote control on the other end of the room, that's when an ad will show, and I have to dash across the room to hit the skip ad before it launches into a 30-minute telenovela. But someone was saying that it was the Eldritch Lore podcast, Eldritch Lorecast, which I quite like. It's the folks over at Ghostfire Gaming. No, it's fine where it is. And they were talking about the interesting possible origins of the D&D channel. It's an E1 production, and E1 was a subsidiary of Hasbro, which got sold off fairly recently, like in the last few years, last couple of years. So someone surmised that these were things that were in production before Hasbro sold it off. For all I know, this is one of the things that Hasbro used to sweeten the... Again, just guessing. This is something that Hasbro might have used to sweeten the deal. Like, oh yeah, we'll sell this to you, but you get to make great D&D content, like whatever's on this channel. But on the Eldritch Lorecast, it was funny. They were talking about how Wizards is bringing back some of these older characters, and they're like, Warduke, and they were the people on the Lorecast really didn't know who Warduke was, which is so weird because that's like that's the Dungeons and Dragons I know, is the art and comic side of things. Where the Venn diagram of comics and comic books and D&D overlap. That's where I'm at. Warduke's a go-to sketch for me at comic conventions. If I don't know what I'm drawing, I'm just sitting at my table and it's like the show hasn't begun, or usually when I'm at a Comic-Con, the people who are first through the door have been online usually 2 hours before the show opens, and they're waiting to get in, and they have a plan. They're going to go in there and they're going to make a beeline for the exclusives table, or they're going to make a beeline for Jose Luis Garcia Lopez, or a legendary artist or cartoonist or media guest who they know the line's going to be through huge all weekend long, and they want to get there first. They want to be first in line to get a sketch from, I don't know, pick an artist. A lot of the artists I was going to pick, like, oh boy, that one passed, and that one passed, and that one passed. But like when I was at a convention sitting next to George Perez, like people were lined up. I was setting up my table the first day of the show, and there were already people who had found a way into the convention center, lining up at his table. And to George's credit, George Perez is... Most people know him as the co-creator of the Teen Titans. And if they don't know the Teen Titans, co-creator of Cyborg, the member of the Justice League, in the Snyderverse and other places. That feels pretty good. Again, this whole thing's going to be wrapped around the axe handle or holding up some books. So I just need the basic shape. And then what I do is I fuse I get every digit where I want it to go, get the pose of it right, and then I fuse it all together, and then I will carve in other details like fingernails and stuff like that. There's really no point in me doing that stuff now. Or in this case, the character might be wearing gauntlets. So maybe I should factor that. I should think about that now. Huh. Okay. How do we do this? Let's... I'm going to hide those for now. Don't read into this, everybody. I'm going to hide the base as well so people don't think I'm flipping off the internet. But I'm going to clone the base. And I'm going to create kind of a knuckle for a bit of armor, a bit of shielding for the knuckle. Boy, it'd be better to use a circle. I'm going to do that. So I'm going to add a new sphere. We're going to increase the res. Are we looking at things from the back? We are. How about that? Increase the post subdivision, validate, grab the gizmo tool, and slide this thing up. Scale it up. Oh man, the finger's off center. Fair enough. Fair enough. We'll eyeball it. And so for this, we'll make it a little oblong, and we will use the trim tool so this thing should be connected to the center element. I can spell knuckle. Not like that. So I'm connected this so the tip was like rotate this, it should rotate that piece as well. But it's making it extend out. So I'm going to move the center point of this in a little bit. I think this will help. Might have to undo it if I don't like it. That's better. Now the knuckle guard's moving a little more naturally. Which means I have to do that for the other pieces as well. For folks just joining us, I'm working in Nomad Sculpt on an iPad Pro. All right. So for this, I'm going to select the base and move it back so it's more visible on the knuckle. And I'm gonna, boy, I hate to do this, make those visible. I'm gonna join them together. I'm going to adjust their blending so they're translucent. Just use them as reference as I clone these pieces again. This is middle finger. We'll clone that. Let's call the first one index finger. And the next finger, we'll scale it down just a little bit. happening there? Oh, that's the translucent. Okay, we're going to get rid of the translucent ones. I slid everything back, so I'm going to have to slide these back a little bit. If I use the right tool. But I'm looking into 3D printers, filament printers. I have some ideas. This whole morning I was like kind of like fixated on one. I've got to figure out if I can make it work. Okay, so the index finger, we're going to clone that. We'll make this the thumb. And for this purpose, I'm going to delete the thumb and delete the knuckle guard. Alright, so now these things have knuckle guards. That should hopefully sell the concept a little bit better. How we doing? If folks want to check out, I've got the link there below Prayer's Handbook, but if you want to get queued up for when the campaign goes live, you should be able to check that out. And I think this should work too. If you want to check out my previous... There we go. The first 5e book I put together called Intoximancy. Any nominated Intoximancy. So I'm going to smooth this out. I treated this like it was a hand, and so I kind of built in knuckles, like kind of indentations for those bands. Basically, you got your fingers, and then underneath the meat of the hand, you kind of have 4 other finger, like you got your 3 joints that make up the finger, and there's kind of a 4th one that runs the length as well, kind of hidden underneath all that. And I kind of was hinting at that, those bones. And given that this is going to be armor, then now it just doesn't make any sense. So I will smooth these out as best I can. We'll remesh. That always helps smooth stuff out. Okay, let's assume that that's good enough. I hope that these aren't... Well, let's do this. Smooth tool. I'm just running the smooth tool along the tops of these to kind of help them catch the light a little better. This adds a light bevel to the edges, and smooth. So this has the effect of smoothing out the top, which I don't know if it needs it at all, but it definitely makes the rest of it look a little bit better. So I just select each piece and then run it with the smooth tool, run over it with the smooth tool. In Nomad Sculpt, if you want to edit something, you have to have selected it, just so it knows what you're working on. When I last checked, Death Dealing. I'll get to the name of the right book eventually. The Meta Cleric Handbook, the Prayer's Handbook. Currently, it has something like 230 people queued up for when it goes live, which I think has to be a record for a project of mine. I've certainly given it enough time. I built the page and launched it probably a month ago. But I figured while I work on it, when I work on the pieces here, things like that, I could talk about it and send people that way. So far it seems to have worked. Alright, that's not bad. Now, let's do this. Oh, what's happening? I'm going to scale this up and I'm going to trim it down a little bit. So use the trim tool and the line tool. I think I mentioned it. I watched a new actual play stream from a group called Natural Six. I heard somebody busting on it a little bit because it's an actual play D&D game with voice actors who are all friends, and it just basically they were just kind of ragging on a little bit because it's identical to the Critical Role business model. A bunch of voice actors who play D&D. I watched their session 0 and I thought it was solid. I thought the characters did great. I felt like they produced charming characters. They're leaning into their strengths. It feels very much like a little bit like a first episode in that the characters are choosing like almost like what your first D&D character would be, which tends to be archetypal. It tends to be, your hero worshipping version of yourself. You want to play the swashbuckler or the misunderstood wizard. I don't know. Usually one person wants to play Batman. And I thought they did an excellent job. I thought they were entertaining. I thought the DM managed to squeeze in quite a bit of exposition at the beginning in a way that didn't cause me scrambling for the back button. That often happens with some of the live play. Some of it is excruciating. The game starts and immediately the Dungeon Master launches into an info dump about their lore. It is the 13th age of the 15th millennium. The 7 moons, and then names the 7 moons, are all in conjunction. And then there's math. The 7 moons have 15 suborbiting bodies, each one named after a different cat. Like, oh, for God's sakes. I know Mercer started Critical Role Season 2. I call him Mercer. It's a thing we have. Matt Mercer started Season 2, and I think they were busting on him for... like, he started explaining all this stuff, and I probably Sam Riegel, where... will there be a test? Like, it was a lot. So no Dungeon Master is immune. Okay, so that's one glove. I feel pretty good about that. Yes, I could add embellishments to the glove, and maybe I will. But I'm gonna sip some coffee. Hey, Stein the Silverwing. Can you link it up so we can watch it? Oh boy, I don't know if they have it on their... I think they're on Twitch and YouTube, but if you go to if you search YouTube Natural 6, and I don't know why every time I spoke into my voice control thing, it turned into misinterpreted in a unexpected way. But Natural 6, SIX, is the channel, and it was quite good. The DM has got a lovely... all of them have lovely voices, as you'd expect from voice actors, and yeah, I thought they did a good job. Episodes are short, which are nice. I think it was all part of a crowdfunding effort. Like, they did like a session 0, they did the session half. There's a second session half they did at a live play event. I guess they're all live play, but they did it on stage at a appeared to be a comic convention or a gaming convention. And I'm not familiar with the actors. I don't know what work they've done. For all I know, they're famous. But they did an excellent job. And then they had a crowdfunding campaign that went with it. And these episodes were sort of like the proof of concept. And really interesting, too, because whereas Acquisitions Inc. has really leaned into some special effects this time around with on-screen graphics and voice modulation, and when they were fighting in a cavern full of arcane crystals, the screen of the production kind of had this kind of glowing light descending from this from the top of the screen to indicate like a ceiling. So whereas Acquisitions Inc. has really leaned into some special effects, this is all theater of the mind. There weren't any minis. There's combat, and it's all just talking it out. And I found it quite good. And the backgrounds are pure black. They're just sitting in a void. They're clearly sitting on opposite sides of a table. There's like a group of 3 and a group of 2. There's 6 players in total. I think that's where the Natural 6 comes from. And yeah, lovely. I think the guy who plays Jim Dark Magic has black mouth attention at the DM. I wouldn't be surprised. Isn't that that's one of the 2 Penny Arcade guys, right? And the DM is usually Chris Perkins of Wizards of the Coast. I got to meet that guy, Mr. Perkins, Chris Perkins. I call him Chris, not Mr. Perkins, at that Gamehole Con. David, nice to see you. I met him at Gamehole Con, and really lovely guy. And he said something when he's uncomfortable on stage, and I was really surprised at that. Because he seems really natural and an excellent ambassador for gaming. So what we're working on is the sculpt of a creature from my next 5e book called The Prayer's Handbook. Link at the bottom of the screen there. and there's a couple of links up in the chat as well. So this creature is called a Grognard. Its name comes from a it comes from D&D Nerdistry. The meta domain cleric is what the Prayer's Handbook is about, and so there's a lot of in-jokes, and Grognards are the older fans and older gamers who tend to complain. Apparently, I've talked about this before, the name comes from, my understanding is from Napoleonic, has Napoleonic origins, and since D&D grew out of a lot of wargaming, that's kind of where these terms were picked up. And the Grognards were, I'm sure I'm butchering the pronunciation. I'm still a New Yorker, and, you know, everything's mispronounced, I'm sure. But they were the older kibitzers, complainers, and so it stuck with some of the older gamers who complain about, you know, kids today with their infinite health bars, and everyone's a superhero. Back in my day, everyone died instantly, and no one had any fun. Oh, we died all the time, and we loved it. My Dungeon Master was a real jerk, and we had a great time. You know, and that's so true. But the whole, I'm absolutely a fan of the Matt Mercer nurturing style of Dungeon Master. I'm not saying it's the only way to play. It's just to me, I appreciate it, and I'm glad people are. I mean, everyone should play whatever game they want to play, but I really like it. David, good to see you. I'm sorry I missed yesterday's stream. I was been swamped. Okay, so let's add some ornamentation to this thing. So far, if I've got this right, let's save and sip some coffee. Each one of these digits, let's scale this thing up so it's proportionate to everything else. Let's do that. Each one of these digits should rotate. That could be pulled forward, shouldn't it? Let's do that. I'm just going to use the pivot tool here and move it in a little bit closer to the open palm, so when it rotates, boy, I wonder if those should be circles. Like if those were if those were spheres with the tops cut off. That way when they rotate, they don't expose the stem of the shape. I think I have to do that. Okay. So what I do is I sculpt each one of these hands. I get them the way that I like them, and then I use them for each other. You know, I flip them and then I make them once and then use it twice. Coloring that. Oh, I'm glad it's going to be in color. I didn't even know it was going to be a color piece. I just presumed role-playing games that would be black and white. That's awesome. I finished it today off stream. Well, that's great. I hope they love it. They're going to love it. Of course they're going to love it. It was gorgeous. I can't wait to see the color. I thought, oh, I just got a text. Is that you, David? Oh my goodness. Oh yeah, they're going to love that. Holy cow. Holy cow. I don't know how you do it. I mean, I could watch you do it on the stream, but there aren't like lots of special effects, but you've got this muted palette, this naturalistic palette, and yet everything's clear. You'd think they'd all be fighting with each other, like, or they'd all be of equal weight, but they really pop. And I just like how you do that. You get it so that you see the image, and then with the highlights, you sort of follow through the piece. You find different things the more you look. Yeah, I'd have copped out, made the whole mechanical train element behind them all like a flat color, or you know, really hit them with a heavy blue or something like that to push everything back and pop them forward. Yeah, I dig that so much. That's why I love watching your work. It's not, I mean, I'm certain it's seeping in, but there's like just, you make these choices that I just would never occur to me. Yeah, and the folds that wrap around the, is it a ferret? Is it a, and that's not asking about the artwork. That's me not knowing mammals. A weasel. The drapery. Holy cow, is that great? Yeah, compound bow. Every bow I draw is a classic single piece of reed and maybe it's tied off at the end if you zoom in close enough. That's a struggle. I don't want oversaturated color. I don't want it too dark where you can't see the line art. Yeah, really nicely done. Steina says, I think the Dungeon Master should root for the player for success. I am a player's biggest fan, but the dice land as they land. That's excellent. That's really excellent. I feel that way too. I feel like you should, as the player, I don't often Dungeon Master, but as a player, I want the bad guys to fail and the Dungeon Master to succeed. And wanting both of those things can feel like opposite ends of like competing in some way or pulling against each other. But wanting the Dungeon Master to succeed and the villains to fail. Also, I absolutely play for. I try for maximum storytelling moments. Like there was for a while there, my bard. I played a bard. Bard have magical secrets. They can, at certain points as the bard levels up, they can get 2 magic spells from any class in the game. And mine chose conjure animals, which lets them summon X number of animals. And you think the CR level would mitigate how overpowered that is, but when you're conjuring 8 wolves, for instance, those are 8 things that have to attack. They slow the game down. And at some point, he had this ability. I just wasn't using it because to me it felt like it wasn't fun for the rest of the table. Occasionally when we were being attacked by too many things, and suddenly, yes, conjure wolves, meat shields, between, fey creatures that would then, when you hit them, they just vanish and return to the fey. So I didn't feel bad about injuring poor animals, even imaginary ones. But creating things that the enemy would have to get through while we, were unlocking something or running away or setting our position or something like that. But totally playing the game not for maximum damage, but for the most amount of fun. I freehanded the axe in the backpack and the bedroll. Oh, I used a 3D model reference for the bow, the goggles, and the bow is really impressive. I like Cowrain as the spell, aka Conjure Woodland Animals. Oh yeah, sure, absolutely. There's a lot of really fun spells. I miss playing my bard. I've been playing a cleric lately. As I'm working on a book about clerics, familiarity with the cleric class was really important to me. I'm currently playing a Warforged cleric who is slowly getting their systems back online as they level up. Spell doesn't say you have to put them on the ground. Oh yeah, I've heard of that. Like people just summoning animals and then just dropping them from airships. And yeah, why not? They'll do what, 1d6 per 10 feet they fall of damage, assuming what they hit is impacted as much as the thing that fell, and I think physics would probably say that's the case. Okay, let me decorate this hand up before I duplicate it. But so far, oh no, that's right. We talked about adding these circles back. Oh, I want to show one piece before we. Let me save this, and at the beginning of the stream, for folks who have been here since the start, you'll have seen this. But let me switch over to Procreate for a moment. And this is a new piece. This will be on the. This will be on the page in the Prayer's Handbook about the magic book. So far, with all the subclass books I've done, whether it's Intoximancy or Death Dealing, or now the upcoming Prayer's Handbook, you get a magic item that levels up with you. And in this case, it is a magic book. Here's some of the other books: Intoximancy, Death Dealing, and then there's hardcover versions as well. In this case, this illustration is kind of hopefully set the tone for what the magic book is. You as a cleric get this holy book, and again, it levels up with you. And the thinking is that there's lots of chits of paper with it. As every level, as you level up this cleric subclass, you have an epiphany. There's like a chart of epiphanies, of possible epiphanies. And I think they're just meant to help the player flavor the character. How much they use it, it's really up to the player. But I really like the idea of these books being a thing which you have that is kind of like you're sitting, you're playing your class is on a sheet of paper, and then you've got your book, and it has sort of the basics. It doesn't have... And I weighed that idea, starting with Intoximancy, that should I include everything in the SRD, in the standard reference document, about wizards? Should I include the chart about leveling up? Should I include all that stuff? So you don't have to go reference your player's handbook. You can just have this, and it's in the SRD, so you know it's free for everyone to copy and print. But to me, filling a 32-page book with stuff you already have elsewhere didn't feel fair. It felt like I'm padding the book. And given how much other stuff is in here, monsters like the Hobgoblin and the Kegger and all the spells and all the magic items, I really wanted to pack like 100 pages worth of stuff inside those 32 pages. And the last thing I want to do is fill it up with stuff you already know. And I don't think anyone's first D&D character is going to be one of my subclasses. I feel like this is really appealing to people who have played D&D before. So this is the piece of artwork. I'm really happy with it. Lots of little Easter eggs you can find in here. Real subtle things, but one of the main things is that it's for the meta domain cleric, and so even this has got a little bit of meta where you're looking at this book, and inside that book is a drawing of the book that you're looking at, and inside that book is a drawing of the book you're looking at, and kind of recursive tomes all the way down. Okay, let's get back to Nomad Sculpt. That was sculpted in Nomad Sculpt, the basic tome, sculpted here on the stream, and then brought into Procreate, and I paint on top of it. Almost all these things. The sketch of this creature, the Grognard, was sketched in Procreate here last Thursday, and now I sculpt this, and then when this figure is done, not only will it be a mini, but it'll be reference for a painting. So I light it the way I want, I get it all the pieces where I want them to be, and then I basically start from there. Do I sell print files? Yes, I do. For 3D printing, yes. Like those two rogues below me. You can. There are kits available on my website. If you go to steveconley.com or go to deathdealing.com or intoximancy.com, I think I should be able to put that stuff here. I think I've made a link. That shop link, if you go to the tabletop role-playing games section of it, STL files of the Intoximancer and the Kegger and Buzzkill and all sorts of stuff, and those two rogues. And I can show one more piece. Let me show you. This is the cover of, or a version of the cover. I'm always tweaking it. Of the Prayer's Handbook. This is the nighttime version of it. I do two covers because there are hardcover and softcover. And when I was doing Intoximancy, I had a choice between the orange cover and the blue cover, and I couldn't decide. And initially, the hardcover and softcover were going to have the same cover. They're just going to be printed in different methods. But I couldn't choose between the red and the blue, and I made them both different. And so now I've continued that with each one of these books. So this one's more nighttime. And so I sculpted a figure. And that's what it looks like when it's lit. The sculpt is usually kind of like the neutral colors you see there. It's all a single material because when it gets printed or cast, it's a single kind of resin or plastic. And so I'll paint it a little bit. Like I'll put a little bit of rosiness on the nose just to get things roughly where I want. But this is just the starting point, and then I just paint on top of it. And I add lighting, I add more depth, and so it's a ton of back and forth work to get things where I want them to be. I like the sculpt's pose for purposes of a miniature. It has like a good forward motion, and it's very, I don't know, it feels like an actor on a stage reading it, saying a soliloquy of some kind. But for the purposes of the cover, and I like that the legs give good solid footing. Do the runes on the mace have any meaning? Not necessarily. It's just a 20-sided, icosahedron, and then I just sculpted shapes into it. I didn't come up with a rhyme or reason for them. It's just, 20-sided die everywhere on this thing. But the leg poses were fine for the sculpt. But when it came time for the painting, I wanted to change that up. And so the stance is widened. It's a little clearer the other leg. The nighttime pose has got a lot more blue in the environment. And and the idea with this piece is hopefully that you see it, that it's, you see the headline, you see the cleric, and the idea of making it not a wizard. Initially, I had a much higher collar, and people thought that looked too wizardy. Specifically, Cave, if you're here, said immediately, I thought it looked wizardy, and like Cave immediately said, looks like a wizard. Had a long flowing cape. I got rid of that and have this little capelet now. But the key to make it a cleric was to give them armor, so it's not a wizard. Might look a little paladin-y, but then I thought a helmet would be more like a paladin, not the prayer book. And so to me, this feels like a cleric. And so the idea, hopefully, you see the cleric, you see the title of the book, you see these shapes in the environment, hopefully Miyazaki-esque. And then as it fades, it kind of reveals it transitions to, is he stepping on top of a D20? Is that a character sheet? Is he stepping through the game or existing in both spaces at the same time, which is kind of the concept. So really happy with it. But that's how I kind of balance the two, kind of before and after. This was a very weird lighting one for me. I tend to like simple 3/4 lighting, with a really strong light on one side, and then it fades to dark, and then you've got rim lighting on the other side. In this case, has the light, a strong light in the hands, a strong light coming out of the book. So I had to fight that a little bit, but I'm pretty happy with it. And then little touches like the grid and... that's a little... That halo of blue shouldn't be there. I have to tweak that. That's probably a selection from before I moved the foot. I gotta tweak that. And this is a nod to Warduke, the classic D&D evildoer, designed by Tim Truman, and that has batwing dragon ears, and I kind of give it feathers. But the base of the helmet's kind of the same. The central orb, the Magneto helmet shape, the horns. I think they're horns. I can't tell. Okay, let me get back to sculpting. Thank you for allowing me that little diversion. And we're back. His name might be Eddie. That's the meta domain cleric is a cleric, like I mentioned, a cleric who thinks this all might be a game. It plays around with. It kind of grew out of, I don't know how much you heard before, but kind of grew out of the notion of a skeptical. How would a skeptic approach playing a cleric? It was a friend of mine was having this exact problem. They wanted to play a cleric, and they had trouble with it. And they were trying to wrap their head around the whole notion of faith in a world where miracles are evident all the time. Not only are miracles evident, but they're almost like they're attributable to a specific deity. There's no question of, do you believe in the change bringer? Do you believe in? Of course you do. You see them raise the dead all the time. So the question of faith isn't even a thing in these worlds, in these fantasy worlds. In that way, they're kind of secular. There isn't a faith. There isn't there. It's more of a my God can beat up your God kind of competition for market share, more than, winning over the hearts of somebody necessarily. And I think so. In this case, you've got these clerics who think this all might be a game, and the level 8 ability. I think it's level 8. Might be level 6. I think it's level 8. Level 8, you learn your character learns the player's name. And so far, it involves things like, by the silvery song of Steina, right? They'll be able to use it as a bolstering ability. Very much Doctor Strange by the hoary hosts of Hoggoth, or something like that, where you have this, you kind of summon the strength of the player. Now the question is, as the player of the character who believes in the player, do they know you, or do they know the character you're playing? You don't have to play yourself playing the character. You can play yourself Eddie Munson playing the character. So Eddie was kind of like a nod to Eddie Munson, who's the unreal person playing the D&D character. How meta do you want to make this thing? And so that's kind of just a nod to go nuts. Do what you want with this thing. Play it as deep as you want. I also like Eddie because it's a non-gendered name necessarily. You could have an Eddie. It could be like Edie. It could be however you want to. You play it however you want. And so there's a lot of stuff going on there. And who knows? I might change that before it goes live. But that was it. And also it was in the point of designing character sheets. So when you're putting in like, hey, what's your character? You have to roll the dice to figure out, your strength and your constitution and your armor class, and all these things are sort of, all the information you're filling out on the character sheet is the character, except player name. And that one thing on a character sheet, on every character sheet since the beginning of Dungeons and Dragons, player name is the part which the only thing you know going into it. And this will be maybe the first time that's ever part of it. We're figuring out that part. Don't fill that in just yet. Your character knows their armor class, presumably. Maybe they don't know it in those terms. Whenever my characters are casting spells, I never say it's a level 3 spell. I never say I only have 2 level 3 spell slots left. My character says something like, I'm tapped out, or I'm nearly tapped out of energy, or I don't think I can cast many more spells in my current condition. I can have the character talk as if they don't know about slots, right? I don't know if that's how in the world, in the various tables in the world, how characters are supposed to comprehend their spells. Can a character say, I'm casting, that I don't stand back everyone, I'm casting a level 5 fireball, right? Does level 5 mean something to people in the world? That's a weird thing. So I don't know. But anyway, this character class is going to play with some of that stuff. A long-winded answer. Now this is definitely a left hand, but I call it right hand because I'm always talking about from the camera angle, not from, it's like sort of like stage right, stage left. Okay, I'm trying to think what other decorations I can put on this. I can absolutely... Oh, we were talking about that. Dang it, I keep getting distracted by my own self. That's my fault. Turn that off. Thumb base, we'll turn that off. Each one of these fingers... I have to change that knuckle guard. So I need another circle. So we'll do that. We'll select anything. We'll add a circle, a sphere. We will increase the pose subdivision. We will validate, and we will slide this thing up. It'll be very small. We have to scale it up a lot. Grabbing the outside circle. Move it up. We'll slide it over. Scale it down. Now let's start with the middle finger because that's where we started before, for consistency's sake. Oh my goodness. Alan! How the heck are you? Everyone follow Alan. Alan's amazing. Alan is magnifique. I know I mispronounce every word in French. I apologize. Alan creates wonderful fantasy artwork in ballpoint pen. Right? You're thinking, no, it can't be. How good can it be if it's in ballpoint pen? Amazing. Amazing. Like, that's half the reason to go check it out, because it's so good. He shared some over in the Discord, links in the doobly-doo, but has a crowdfunding campaign on the horizon? For a card game. Oh wait, it's not crowdfunding just yet. I might be misstating that. I'm going to trim this sphere. Oh wait, we're going to trim it at a slight angle. Excellent. Okay, solo. We'll smooth this out a little bit. Perfect. I'll slide that up. And we will replace that. Let's clone that a few times. And so for the middle finger, index finger, but I hope your stream was went well. Pre-sale. Yeah, but check out Alan's posted some amazing images. Do follow him, and over on the Discord, in the ArtShare folder. Yeah, really awesome. I hope it's not too effusive to say that I think I think the first thought was it's old school without looking retro. You know what I mean? It's not. It doesn't look like a parody or an homage. It feels like it shares genetics. Like it's of a kind with the classic fantasy artwork, but it does its own thing. It's really cool. Scale it down a little bit, slide it over, move it up a little maybe. And fortunately I don't... Okay, that's the ring finger. Replace that knuckle guard. I got one more to do. We will select that and hide it. The pinky, extend, scooch that over, slide it down, up maybe. Yeah, it's really cool work. I love that about Twitch. It feels like kind of being at a comic convention where you just keep meeting people who produce amazing things. Thumb. Okay. I was at that Gamehole Con in Madison, and I just met so many excellent artists. People I never, who's, in some cases they were artists whose work I knew. Other cases, no idea. And it was just a great show. Great. Just getting to talk shop with people. Okay, so we'll turn these on. Index I can get rid of. I did. Good, good, good. Good. Good, and then we'll turn the thumb base back on and the right hand back on. I'm going to scooch that over a little bit more. I feel like that's got to be embedded more in that bit of the thumb, or the base of the thumb. So now if I've done this right, and I don't know if I have, when this finger rotates, it shouldn't. Man, I think that needs to be lower. All right, look at it from the side. Pivot point. Is that right? No, pivot point. It's got to be in the center of the sphere. Yeah. I'm probably missing some stuff in chat in the moment. I will be right back looking at chat as soon as I figure out, as soon as I get this right. I have to move these pivot points and it's a little bit tricky. Okay, where were we? Yeah, stream today was good. I'm doing a Red Witch for a book novel writer. Oh, that's awesome. I just want my latest portrait on your Discord. Just Black Bureau. You're gonna be surprised. Oh, that's awesome. In your mind, what material is the glove palm made of? I think it will be made of metal. So there's going to be some tweaks I have to make before I get too far along. I know it's all going to be. I think I like the idea that it would be like a maybe a metal band around. Like it's probably got fabric underneath it, and then like a metal band that would go around the back of the hand. But I haven't really thought about the engineering of it. I kind of started sculpting and then realized, oh wait, this should be a glove. Oh wait, I've drawn gloves on this thing and not just a hand. So this is my first time sculpting a gauntlet, I think. I think the cleric I sculpted has armor, but the gloves are leather looking. Or leathery. So we'll see how these fingers bend now. So I'll select the finger, move it forward. Yeah, that's close enough. I bet I can scooch them up a little bit. Oh, it's still poking through at the bottom there. I'm going to tweak that. So, small brush. I'm going to bring that point up a little bit. And the cool thing about this is that when it's in the painting stage, I can change it however I want. And when it's in the mini stage, it's going to be so small that people might not even notice. Like once I get to this point on the piece here, I can create a band depending on how the thumb is attached. And that's going to be a thing. I can use the selection mask tool and the rectangle tool. You save in case I crash everything after all I've done here. That's curious. Wonder why it's acting so weird. That's better. That's close to what I was looking at. So like once I have that area selected, just reduce the thickness and extract and kind of create a band around the outside of it. And then I can, if I want to, solo, I can make that thicker. Let's do that. We'll double the thickness. The heck? And then looking at it from the top, I can use the trim tool and the lasso tool. And I don't think anyone's going to see, that's why I could cheat a little bit, because no one's going to see the inside of the palm, because in the case of whether it's gripping the axe or holding up the books, the palm won't be visible, so I get to cheat a little bit. I've never done 3D sculpting for like for Hollywood or anybody like that. I wonder why I can't close that little window. Tell you what, I'm gonna save and we're gonna see what happens. Needs a latch to clamp on after the hand is inserted. Needs a latch to clamp on after the hand is. That totally makes sense. That totally makes sense. Also, let me take a step back here. I'm going to delete that. When I selected this, you can see that the oopsie-doo. You can see that the line is very jagged, very Minecrafty. I'm going to clear that selection and I'm going to increase the mesh of that part of the hand, basically doubling it. And now when I select with the selection mask tool, it'll be a much cleaner selection. Like that's almost razor sharp compared to the other one. And that will let me select other things. So I could do something like this and this. Thicken both of those a little bit. And then make 2 bars. Then I can clear the selection. And then using the mask tool and a small brush, a smaller brush than that. Oop, I drew on a curve, so I extended it out. And I'm not even sure this kind of swirly pattern makes any sense on a monster's gloves like this. I probably should do something much more brutalist looking, something a little more dwarven. And then I can extend that out. I'll cut the thickness in half and extract that. And then you have like a nice pattern. So there's lots of options. Delete that. But I shall I'll figure that out. I feel like this glove thing needs that though. So I will hit solo. I want to find the nice flat edge of that if I can. Selection mask tool. And then find the flat edge of the bottom part. Trying to line it up with the camera angle, and then using the line tool, turning symmetry off, then increasing the thickness and extract. Now I'll clear this selection, because if I don't clear this selection, if I try to move the thing later on, the two pieces that are selected won't move. You'll just see the clay stretch with those two things locked in space. Yeah, I don't hate that. Actually, tell you what, let's do this. Wrist and those two things, we're going to mesh those together. Then solo, trying to find that flat edge again if I can. And the trim tool and the line tool. Oh, I don't think the angle is great. Yeah, I don't know. I'm gonna go back in time. I don't mind that, but I feel like it's a little too early to figure out that kind of decoration. Alright, let's save and sip some coffee. Curve it for much more of like a rounded. Yeah, absolutely. I also should move it just because the knuckles should be curved and not quite as flat as they are. So I'm gonna bring out the oopsie-doo, grab the wrong thing. And the fingers should all kind of point in a little bit, so that as they pull in, they all kind of, fingers splayed out, and as they come in, they all kind of come to a point. Like that kind of weird convergence as the hands get tighter, as the fingers pull in. Grab the wrong yoke there. All right, good, good, good. But let me bring this out just a touch. Yeah, it absolutely looks a bit flat. Oopsie-doo. Too small a brush. And I'm working in Nomad Sculpt for folks joining us. This is basically... Ooh, too much. I know I sculpt... What the heck happened to the wrist guard? I flattened that before I moved everything else. Whoopsie-doo. And it's a very merciful program. Has 1,000 levels of undo. I'm gonna remesh that palm part again with a big old brush, smooth it all out. I have a lot of little protuberances and things in there that when earlier on this was all sculpted out of a bit of clay, and I put in things like knuckles and the striations on the back of the hand. Charity, how the heck are you? I appreciate that, Alan. I appreciate the feedback. That's awesome. JRD, so good to see you. JRD is over on the YouTubes. You can see his comment in the chat. You might not see it over on the Twitches. And all right, so this is a good place to start. So, how do we do this? How do I do what I'm doing? Why did I do it this way? We'll take this hand, and we will clone it, and we will slide this up. And we'll save. And then for the axe, which I connected to the chest, I made it part of the hand. I'm going to bring this out of the hand, kind of free it to be out there. Let me see if I can, with the axe selected, I can't reset it. With the rotation though, I should be able to 0, 0, destruct 0. Excellent. And now that returned its rotation back to one of the 90 degrees where I can I'm going to save this, and I'm also going to hide our sketch. We don't need that at the moment. Back from Disney, fighting off bronchitis. Oh no, but not the COVID. That's good. Talking earlier about a lot of people at the Final Fantasy 14 Fest, the that they a lot of COVID going around there. Oh, that's awesome. Did I miss pencil to pencil? No. Mike has been out of... Fantastic. Alan Barbo just subscribed. On the YouTubes, presumably? Yeah, I guess I haven't updated that animation. This is the default Streamlabs thing, or I've failed to click the right button. But no, Pencil to Pencil is a live stream. Myself, Jamar Nicholas, and the magnificent Mike Manley. Mike has been fighting off some health, has had some health woes lately, and so we do have a new episode in the planning stages right now for the end of this month, but probably after Thanksgiving. I don't. We have. Oh boy, I have to lower that some more. Pivot point. I think I have to lower that as well. Pivot down. I should have made these all circles that are cropped off at the top. Maybe. That or I just didn't tweak this with... I should have tweaked this the way I tweaked the... We're back here. Yeah, I really like having no clue what I'm doing. For folks who don't know, I only started sculpting was it? Oh no, maybe it is like a year and a half, maybe 2 years now. It has been a while. Heck, I have been I'm old. I'm old, Gandalf. And I'm still learning a lot. Heck, forget that. We'll just mush it till it looks right. When in doubt, mush. Mike is still down. I think he's just not 100%. I think he's playing catch up with work, and so we're just being supportive. And no. As far as I'm concerned, there's no show without Mike. So, you just wait. All right, let's try to. The knuckles should be lined up with the object. Let's do this. What I noticed is when you're grabbing a bat or an axe or anything like that, the knuckles are almost lined up with the direction of the object. Not always, because your knuckles are misaligned a little bit. They're not all the same length. But by and large, they tend to be, I think, they tend to follow the shape of the thing, or at least that's the way I approach it when I'm drawing this stuff. Yeah, these knuckle guards are messing everything up for me, so I'm just gonna eyeball it, and then we'll clean it up. It's my first time trying to draw armor, a la Doctor Doom or Colossus or something like that. So this piece is I'm gonna have to modify, like this stem of this finger. I gotta bring that down so it's not protruding out. And normally when I have people grabbing something, like a coffee cup or something, I will have can't see it with the glove. That's what I get. The pinky extended is kind of a nice lively touch for something, but when it's an axe or a weapon, that's just a bad look. It means you're not gripping the thing fully. So if you see a character tipping a potion or handling something gingerly, the extended pinky kind of is a good lively look for the piece. But when it's an axe, you just want full contact. But I just shipped the last Kickstarter order for Death Dealing. I think it's the last one. I mentioned this before. It's close to the last one. It's the last one that anyone has of the folks who have answered their surveys, the Back Your Kit surveys. So there are 20 people who have pledged but have not told me where to send their stuff, and that happens every time. Largely like where that thumb is connecting, but I'm going to cheat it and move it up. What I really want is a lot of connection between the hand and the axe, so that when this thing prints as a mini, that there's enough connection there that it will actually print and people won't hate me. I mean, some people are going to hate me, but that's just working on the internet. But you know, reducing the reason to come at me with torches slightly. And Jamar Jerdy is, I think he was talking about pencil to pencil. I'm sorry, not pencil to pencil, but his coffee break going to once every other week. I know he had an episode last week. Okay, I don't hate this. I actually can adjust these knuckles a bit on their own. Thankfully, they're not linked. They're children of the digit that that follows them, and so I can tweak these a little bit kind of easily. I feel like that's a pretty solid grip. Stupid question. Is the thumb should be up against the top finger instead of the handle of the axe? Stupid question. Is the thumb should be against the top? Yeah, probably. Like probably like that. But I also don't know if that would probably be closer to naturalistic. Like if I was grabbing something, but then I don't know what the thickness of this thing should be. Like if I've got such little experience grabbing axes. They have an axe throwing pub by me, and I've gone there once, but I don't think I ever took a single photo. Yeah, it should overlap at least the index finger. I think this is closer. Rather accidentally, this is closer. But I'm going to have to drag pieces around to fix it. Yeah, I'm cheating a little bit there. I get it that far and then I just start mushing things around. Sam is back from work and says, "Oh, that's nice. Hello, Sam." Stana asks, "How thick is the axe handle? Is it the right?" Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I can bring back my sketch. Not that that's much of an authority. Um, I really like the curve of the fingers on the axe at the moment. I know it's probably goofy, but thankfully that's my brand. It is very goofy, and that lets me get away with a lot. And also, it's a thing where as long as that rule of cool, if everyone thinks, yeah, it's a little off, but that looks really cool, I'm like, all right. Also, I'm a big fan of done is more important than a lot of other factors. The original sketch, the grip is much more of a Jack Kirby kind of hand, where the fingers are all equally the same length, and they're thick and stocky fingers. So, all right. So we got this hand, the right hand. We will make the axe subordinate to the right hand. So we select the right hand. Move it in place using those locked XY coordinates. It just makes it a lot easier to move things around in space. And then once I get them into position, then I can turn that off and tweak things. So I turn that off and I can rotate that. Oh, let's do this. It is the right hand. So we're going to select the right hand and we're going to adjust its pivot point to the wrist. I feel like the face is done. You can move the head into place. How are we doing on time? 6:07 609. No drop frames. Oh my goodness. A bunch of people on the YouTubes, a bunch of people on the Twitches. Thank you all for being here. That axe is ridiculous. I could imagine, depending on how everything shakes out here, I might enlarge the hand and the handle, maybe, of the axe. I don't know. It's very ridiculous. Why do I have two things happening here? Oh, shoot. Something got misaligned on the axe. Shoot, shoot, shoot. It looks like I scaled the handle at one point, but not everything else. Okay. Move the handle up. We'll select everything else and see if we can fix this. Hey, this dude has 5 fingers. Yeah, this handle is, in my opinion, too thick for a one-handed axe. Oh yeah, this is probably a like two-handed axe. But I don't think this particular grognard is taking my input. Man, how do I get this just right? Or close enough for me not to hate it or want to start over. That's it. Tear it all up. Let's start over. Alright, that seems okay. Yeah, man. Maybe the hand should be larger. Let's do this. Let's make those things all subordinate to the handle. Man, no, I can't do that. Undo, undo, undo. Because I want to adjust the handle right now. Or no, do I? So like the head of the creature has to be connected to the body. Now by loosening up that, by shrinking that handle, I have to make sure the fingers and everything are still firmly connected to the handle. Seems like they are. So I gotta make the arms. Let's get this. I'm just going to change the color of the neck. I don't want to select everything. First of all, I'm going to delete the previous little skull I just slapped together there. I'm just painting that red to see if I can see it through any other pieces to make sure it's not protruding. I think the armor is going to have a massive collar on it, so that's going to cover the back of the skull and connect a lot of things and cover for a lot of weaknesses in the sculpt and make it easier to print. I hope. Oh, because it's subordinate, of course. So I'm going to move some of the other objects down, like we've got this little skull emblem. The idea is I've made this little cheesy little skull emblem, and we'll put it on everything. It's going to be on the... there'll be multiple insignias all over the place with this skull. And we've got the left hand, which I'm going to have to flip here, which is a pain in the butt. Currently, all those skeletal bits I put into the fingers, like all the pivot points, which are right where they need to be. When you flip an object, the pivots don't move with the object. So I'm going to have to reset the pivots for every part of the finger. Each for all 5 fingers. And it feels like it's coming along. I still like the gesture. I like the motion of the piece. He's got a very cartoony run about him right now. It's very, I don't know, Bugs Bunny. I'll calm that down and make it more... I'm trying to thread the needle with something that's silly and also maybe a little badass, but, I mean, who am I kidding? My stuff's always going to be mostly silly. Alright, so I'm going to delete some of these other pieces I don't need. And I'm going to save, and I'm going to sip some coffee. I'll be back. Alright, 2 midnight there. Need to go. Always so fun to watch you work. Thanks, Alan. So, thank you for the raid. That's so very nice. You're missing the wedge at the top of the axe. OMG, you need to add that. The wedge? If there's something you think how the axe head doesn't fly off. It's held on with, isn't it held on with Elmer's glue or like some Fun Tack? Or a bit of chewing gum. All right, everybody. I will be back in... yeah, it definitely needs a capper of some kind. I kind of just have it loose. Like the rod just sticks right through. Is it not just some sort of perfect Amish construction which doesn't require any fasteners whatsoever except like a little dovetailing? I will be right back. Stretch my legs. I'll see you all in 5. Take a look at this. This is a gallery of amazing artwork by incredible creators like David Peterson, Marty Bowman, Jeremy Vinar, legendary D&D artist Jeff D. They all created artwork of characters from my webcomic The Middle Age, which I encourage everyone to check out at middleagecomic.com. And I think I can put this here. TMA, that works, right? Oh boy, that repeated that a couple times. I apologize for that. I'll see everybody back here in a few minutes. And I'm back. Let me get this reappearing here. So this is our model of the Grognard, a monster from the upcoming Prayer's Handbook, the Metadomain Cleric subclass for 5e games. I say games because this includes Tales of the Valiant. Cut the top and then hammer in a wedge for the top of the axe. Absolutely, absolutely. I'll make sure I include all that stuff. I'm not sure how everything became misaligned a moment ago, but there was much to do. Normally, I wouldn't put the pieces into position this early. I'd kind of like build them all off to the side. I'd build the feet off to the side. I build... you saw how I built the hands kind of up and away from everything else. It just keeps the environment from getting too cluttered when I'm trying to figure out where everything goes. And so I'm not accidentally grabbing things and scaling them, you know, and having an unintended effect. But I hope everyone's having a beautiful Thursday. It's Thursday, right? And I don't get a lot of trick-or-treaters around here for Halloween, but that doesn't stop me from buying too much candy. And I'm going to scale the artwork down here and get it out of the way. And I have had an absurd amount of candy lately, mostly Sour Patch Kids. The kind where I just imagine my dentist is very upset with me. Alright, how am I going to do this? How am I going to do this? So many pieces to these hands. Let's do this. I'm going to get the hand, I'm going to create this hand and design it as best I can to match the drawing. And then we'll flip everything and hopefully most things will be where they need to be. Or is that... If I flip everything and then get the... No. Let's do it this way. Let's just... Let's give this a shot. Everything kind of needs to be tweaked anyway, because not everything is... Not the positions of everything, given those kind of knuckle guards, make everything a little weird. So I have had a near fatal amount of Sour Patch Kids now. Too many. I've had too many Sour Patch Kids. An irresponsible amount. The point where you think if I should get superpowers at this point. Let's do this too. Left hand solo. Let's see if we can avoid seeing everything else. But I was working on that spot illustration, kind of just a throughout the books I try to load them up with artwork. Just whenever I'm looking at like a game book, especially D&D or any fantasy RPG, I really feel like you need to have lots and lots of artwork. Certainly every monster needs to be illustrated, every magic item needs to be illustrated, but there's also just every page, or at least every 2-page spread of pages. Like, let's say if you're looking at 2 pages of a book that are next to each other, there should be some artwork on one of them. If there's a table or a chart of some kind or a map, those count, I think. But even charts can be super dry, and if you can spice them up with anything. In the Death Dealing book, there were lots of a couple of charts, not too many, but one was explaining if you didn't have a deck of cards, how to resolve the effect whenever a rogue crits or rolls a 20 to attack with their magic item, their Death Dealing deck of cards. And in that instance, I needed to create a few different ways of determining that. If you didn't have access to a deck of cards, you could use percentile dice, you could use a random number generator, you can use a regular deck of cards, or you can use the website that I've set up for it. So you can just hit a button and it will give you a random card. And if you used a regular deck of cards, I still had to explain what each one of the cards was. So you pull a Jack of Spades, I have to be able to tell you, you have to be able to determine what effect that's going to have. So a lot of charts. And in that case, the best I could do is I snuck like an illustration of a D20 on the page. It was just put anything, any amount of color on the page so people can appreciate. Why is this not rect? It's not reacting the way I thought. Here we go. Let's come out a little bit more. It feels about right. All right, let's see if we can flip this thing. The easiest thing I could do is I just group the whole thing together and then flip the whole thing. I'm gonna save. Cave, how are ya? What are you ordering for dinner, Cave? Well, you're gonna get Indian food. There, it's been solved. Couldn't have been easier. You're getting a biryani dish. You're welcome. I'm gonna say this again because it needs to be said that Cave Geek Art is the best convention wingman you could have for sales at your table. He was there for a couple of days of maybe every day I think of GameCon, and holy cow, were you great to have at the table. All right, try that again. I'm going to join them all together, and I'm just going to flip them. Not local, world, flip object. Turn off solo. I had this idea this morning. of like the next thing I have to, like I don't have enough to do. Like the next thing I have to do. I can get rid of that other hand. We don't need you since you're just a sphere. I do like the idea that the arm in that sketch, these shoulders are even wider out than way wider out than is reasonable. So we connect this to the forearm, connect the right hand to the forearm. So it'll have a stack of books which will fall back along its shoulder. Let's save, and I'm going to separate this out. It's going to separate these things. Now everything in that group of that hand is going to get separated. Will be called left hand. So isn't that horribly inconvenient? All right, we'll save. So far, so good. So far, so good. You just did. Oh, Cave, I'm sorry. I saw your Facebook post. I don't know how, like I want to interact with them to let you know that people are seeing it, but I'm like I also don't know how to interact because it's like the care icon is like doesn't do enough justice. Cave, it was great to have you there. It's certainly an ego boost, which I really appreciated. You're very kind. Okay, so there's a lot of sculpting I have to do here. I got to build all the armor. I got to build the books. I got to build that big furry cape. But some of the toughest things to create are the hands and the face, and so those are done. So that's great. I have the basic outline for a 5e class based off the Candy Sour Patch Kids. That's great. Fantastic. My teeth hurt just thinking about it. What are you doing? 6:37. That's a perfectly legitimate ability. I love it. I love that, Stena. I don't know who makes Sour Patch Kids, but I think you're likely to get a sponsorship. All right, let's create some armor. I think. I feel like the books will be kind of easy to make. And I think this hand's got to come up a little bit. Let's start with these forearms. It's pretty bad, but I can actually do this with. Let's disconnect the right hand. We will clone that arm, move it up, and we'll get it out of the list. Yeah, I really slapped that thing together. It's very not very good. Not very good. I don't know how much this needs armor, but it does. Nah, that's not gonna work. I thought about creating armor on the outside of the shapes. I feel like that's not the thing. Tell you what, I should screw that thing up there. I'm just gonna work on the actual model. Let's see what happens. doing? I lost 20,000 words today when a power went. Oh no! I'm taking the rest of the night off and just making junk for my D&D game. Are you doing NaNoWriMo? Are you doing that National Novel Writers Month? GRD, thank you so much for being here. Go get some rest. I hope you feel better. And yeah, that's. I'm sorry I wasn't able to catch up with you when you were here in Florida. I think you might have heard I had a burst water pipe that made everything impossible. The last thought I have before I go to bed, and the first thought I have every morning, Cave. I know I shouldn't be singing that Somewhere Out There song from where's that from? Was it from American Tail? But damn it, if I don't sing that every night, thinking of you somewhere out there. Wait, where? You're usually streaming. I know exactly where you are. DEG, thank you. Sneaking in for the win. How the heck are you, DG? How was VidCon? Was it VidCon or TwitchCon? Or was it VidTwitchCon? I understand you were on panels. I want live footage. I want I want to live vicariously through your adventures. Every once in a while I'm sculpting these things, I'm like, maybe I should just... What the heck is going on? Oh, that's the wrong tool. I think, maybe I'm not cut out for this. I'm thinking, this is a really difficult thing to sculpt. What made me think I could sculpt this? And then I'm like, oh, well, I don't know, been lucky so far. Shane, how the heck are you? You overdid it and can't really walk now. Oh my goodness. I'm really grateful my long COVID has improved to the point where I was able to go in the first. That's great. The panel went astonishingly well. I have a recording of it from another of the panelists. I should probably post that. Yeah. But Steve, we saw the picture of you holding those Kickstarter boxes. Just look at your own guns and copy. My guns. That's all Photoshop. What? No, 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 no. You don't break on me. Guns. How dare you? How dare you? Mocking a poor cartoonist. Barely has the strength to pick up a pencil. I'm beat to fit by a clog draining. Oh no. Oof. Oof indeed, DG. Senna. This is great. Sugar distraction at 7th level. I wish I had any advice to offer, Shane. My solution is usually to move. Just pick up and... That's the only reason I moved to Florida. I've just left a trail of clogged drains down the eastern seaboard. I'm going to go to a place that's pretty much underwater. So I could just... not even have to worry about it. Yeah, no, they burst. That was terrible. That was terrible. I didn't need that. But it could have happened while I was away, so like I said, it could have happened before I went to that convention, in which case I never would have gone. I had to cancel the trip to Twin Cities Con. I was excited for that one. They were going to fly me out and put me up and all that lovely stuff. And there's just no way I could do it. I had to be here for them to install new carpeting, and then I'm not sure if it's the carpeting that is degassing or the glue that they use to put it down or the padding under the carpeting, but it has got a it singes the nostrils is what it does. I've tried a few different things, but so far when that priest is done at your parents' house, Shane, send them my way. It currently smells like whatever that vat that the Joker fell into. must have smelled like. Why am I worrying about this deltoid? Why? I'm going to cover it all with armor anyway. So stop it, Steve. Stop it. Get a doctor who is skilled in... I got the snake to the clog and managed to extract a core sample. Shane, it was. It was. It was a... this, I can't repeat any of the suggestions as what it smelled like. Okay, okay. Because the shoulders really should just be blended into the torso. Let's separate those. Look at me separating a shoulder intentionally. But I hope everyone's having a nice night, apart from the the parade of woes. It's like I was walking through the I had to go to a Walmart, as is custom here in Florida, and a woman was having trouble with her car. The hood of her car would not close. Somehow she popped the hood, and it would not. It would close mostly. It was latched for. She asked for help, and I looked like somehow she thought I might have any idea what's happening. And I am not handy at all. When the windows of my car get a little dirty, I just find it easier to hit the window with a hammer and get it replaced. I'm exaggerating. But she thought I could help, and I could not. I have no idea. I thought something was blocking it because it was sealed, but if she drove home, every speed bump she hit, that thing would have been terrible. So, but it was like, I just was like, it's always something. Why can't, I would like for just maybe once that it just wouldn't always be something. Like, some people have a rainy day fund, and I'm like, I'm trying to remember a day where it wasn't raining. Yeah, since there's no insurance here anymore. I Yeah, I mostly just have a fund to get the heck out of the state in case of an emergency. I have a go bag which consists of most of my possessions. I was thinking about it today. I think one of the reasons people don't like Florida is because Florida is America's America. Right. I think I can just remesh that. Try to find a good angle and then drag up to create the... Is that creating a protrusion? It is. No. Oh, it's right. It's got to dig into it. So we'll drag up that way. And that will create the sense of the tricep. Drag up the shoulder. Shane, that would be an emergency. No, I drive through this. I drive through the town. I see all the bumper stickers. I see all the insanity. People are so silly. Acidic form starting at 10th level. You gain the ability to briefly alter your physical makeup. I like that one. Stina, that's excellent. That's very I like it because it's interesting, but it's not OP. It's got a lot of charm. It's not too complicated. It doesn't ask the player to do much math. Especially for fighters. Yeah, that's excellent. It's almost like a brief elemental form. So, with the death dealing book shipped out, I'm working on the next campaign. So hopefully we'll be able to launch in the next couple of weeks. I need a few more pieces of artwork to show. I need that's one of the spot illustrations I showed earlier over on Discord and showed here on the channel. But it's at 7 o'clock. We've got, if you want me to make a class for a book, let me know. I have a lot of fun doing that. Stina, I appreciate that. So far, it's just me doing stuff. But if you're familiar with DriveThruRPG and the DM's Guild, I encourage everyone to put like a subclass together and upload it there and share it and see if people like it. Charge $1 or $2 for it. Not only charge $1 or $2 over on uh, on DriveThruRPG, but include an affiliate link. So anyone who checks out your work can also, anything else they buy while they're checking out, you'll get a credit for, and so you can make a little extra money that way too. I think more people should do that. It's a great way to get, a little bit of pocket change. I make pizza money with the stuff I do on DriveThruRPG, but I like pizza, so that works out fine for me. I feel like every service I put my work on is going to cover. I feel like every service I put my work on is going to cover one more streaming service that I get. I appreciate that, DEG. But YouTube folks, I really appreciate you being here. I don't want to make money. I just like to make things. Oh yeah, well then you can even make them free on DriveThruRPG, and I would absolutely share them over on Reddit, the homebrew subreddit. People love that stuff. Yeah, I think that's really clever and fun, and yeah, I really dig it. But let me see. I'm gonna launch the Twitch, and let's see if we're gonna raid somebody. YouTube folks, this is where I'm going to lose you. You don't have raids, but if you want to come over to Twitch and see where we go, by all means. Steve Sketches is doing a game design stream. I'm not sure if he's... Only 22 folks there. I'm assuming he just logged off or just logged on. He usually has somewhere in the neighborhood of a bazillion people. Where are we gonna go? The playmat just came on. I think the playmat does game design. Cursed stat block one shot. That's fun and definitely in line with what we've been talking about, Stina. I say that right? Am I saying your name right? Stina? I don't know what you prefer. Or SS. Let's go there. The playmat. How can I do this? Okay, gotta go to my channel. I know what I'm doing. I don't know what I'm doing. It's okay, gotta go to my channel. I know what... I'm muting myself so we don't have to hear me. I don't have social yet. But if the links below, doobly-doo, all that stuff is right below. I need to add one for Blue Sky and Instagram. I don't post to those things. I don't know. DEG, you're fantastic. Let's raid the playmat. The playmat. Hey, David. Exclamation point. Yeah. Gift registry. Amazon wish list. Yeah. Deepest secrets. Instacart. That's a good idea. And plus, Kay was asking about dinner tonight. I said Indian food. I'm like, now that's all I want right now. I want biryani. All right. The playmat. All right. Everyone, have a lovely night. I will see you all next time. Yeah, it's working. It's working. And sign up at prayershandbook.com at cleric for when the next campaign goes live, and so you can be notified. I think like 230 people already queued up. It's awesome. Awesome. All right, 5 viewers. Let's go have some fun.